update. He was able to share with us last year, and now we'll get a little bit more about what is going on with their work in Papua New Guinea. So without further ado.
Good morning, everyone. Normally, my wife is here with me, but she's back at her room because Ruby is a baby, and also Hudson, he's hit his wall. So he's taking a nap now. So I do have a wife. She's here. You've seen her most of the time. Before we go into our story here, or to tell you guys an update, I wanted to share with you guys, we were at our supporting church this week, and he was sharing from Judges 7, and something that just struck me as I was kind of listening to the stories here this week and also this weekend. It was just, I guess I'd like to go over that. So I'll pick up here in Judges 7, chapter 9. As you guys know, the context here's Gideon. They've lowered the army down to 300 people, and that night, we'll start at this point there. That same night, the Lord said to him, "Arise, go down against the camp, for I have given it into your hand. But if you are afraid to go down, you go down to the camp with Purah your servant, and you shall hear what they say, and afterward your hands shall be strengthened to go down against the camp." Then he went down with Purah his servant to the outposts of the armed men who were in the camp. And the Midianites and the Amalekites and all the people of the east lay along the valley like locusts in abundance, and their camels were without number, as the sand that is on the seashore in abundance. When Gideon came, behold, a man was telling a dream to his comrade, and he said, "Behold, I dreamed a dream, and behold, a cake of barley bread tumbled into the camp of Midian, and came to the tent and struck it, so that it fell and turned it upside down, so that the tent lay flat." And his comrade answered, "That is no other than the sword of Gideon the son of Joash, a man of Israel. God has given into his hand Midian and all the camp." As soon as Gideon heard the telling of the dream and its interpretation, he worshipped. And he returned to the camp of Israel and said, "Arise, for the Lord has given the host of Midian into your hand." And the preacher who was speaking about that, he said, imagine being known for being a piece of barley bread. He said, who wants to be known for that? So here in this week, we heard earlier, someone's name is Craigie Baby, okay? Things we don't always think to be known for. Fun story here for you guys here. When I was in college, I got to share work with the ministry. And while I was there, I was working the AV tech stuff. So I was working, doing mics, getting things situated, organizing songs. And I wasn't on the stage, but I was helping things in the background. And while doing all these things, one of the ladies came to me and said, "Jared, I've been watching you." And she said, "You're like wallpaper." I thought, wallpaper? What does that mean? She goes, "Well, if you don't look for you, you don't notice it, but you're there." She said, "You're doing a lot of work. Good for you." I'm like, "Well, thank you, but that's a weird compliment." So anyways, it got me thinking, who are we known, who are we called to be, who are we? And as I was thinking about that, I thought, do I have to be the guy on stage? I have to now because I was scheduled, but I prefer to be working, honestly, behind the scenes. But I'll do what is necessary to do what needs to get done. So for those of you guys who don't know, we are Jared and Kelly Weiss, and I'll kind of give some background details for people who haven't heard about us as well. So I grew up in Northeast North Carolina. Kelly grew up in Michigan. So there's many things I can say. It wasn't planned this way, or it wasn't the way I planned at the very least. So I had gone to school and graduated in Northeast North Carolina. I had no intention of staying in town. I wanted to get out, go to the mountains. I had a scholarship lined up. I was going to play soccer in the west side of the state. Things were good. And then I was working with a church on Friday nights, and the guy said, "Hey, you should go into youth ministry." I said, "I'm not going to do that. I don't want to do that." He goes, "I'm going to get you a scholarship. Watch this." He does. He said, "You should do it." I said, "I don't want to do it, John." So anyways, he was right. I ended up going to the school in town there. It used to be called Roanoke Bible College. It's Mid-Atlantic Christian University now. And my wife, we met there. So funny thing on her end was she had said, "I want to go to a Bible college out of Michigan." That was her only requirements. And she happened to pick Elizabeth State, North Carolina, of all things. So as you guys can see here, that's the two of us. I was given a clicker. I set the clicker down, my mistake. Could you do next slide, please? So we have 7 children, as you can count. They are all ours. There we go, got it this time. So we've been married for 13 years now, have 7 children. During that time, we've been involved in our churches, and also during those 13 years, we've gotten to homesteading, homeschooling, and we're pretty busy. So about 2 years ago is when our mission story began, and to say the least, we were not planning on it. So in the spring of 2024, Kelly had told me, she said, "You've got these skills you've gotten over these past 10 plus years. I wish there was something you could do beyond just a paycheck, which a work paycheck is fine. We appreciated it for sure. But she said, I wish there was something you could do more beyond just that. It's like, that's a fair call. So I looked around and I thought, I've heard of Habitat for Humanity. I wonder if I can do something with them. So I called and said, hey, I'm a licensed electrician. Do you need help? Never heard back from them. Thought, well, that's weird. So, anyways, later in June, we had a missionary come visit our church, and they're sharing how they said, we've been in they say we've been in Papua New Guinea now for almost 20 years. They're church planners, and they're giving their story saying, we need more workers. And he was just talking, he was just saying, we have tribes who they hear about what's going on and they say, please send us missionaries. We want to hear about this more. And that really is hard hearing when they said we have to tell them no because we don't have enough people. So he's saying we need more people. He wasn't saying anything. He was saying we need more electricians. He didn't know that. So he just was saying we need more people. So when he said workers, I thought, well, I'm a worker. Hold on. So between the Sunday school and service, I said, hey, I'm a Bible college dropout. I don't have a degree, but I'm an electrician. Can that help? He goes, actually, yeah. So talked with him quite a bit. And I didn't talk with Kelly yet. So at the same time, Kelly heard the same thing and she thought, what's stopping us from going? But she said, I'm not going to tell Jared because if God's going to lead through this, if God wants us to go, he's going to have to tell him first. Lo and behold, we're going to be at the same time. So we talked about it, obviously, and we heard more about the need. And come to find out, as we started going through this more and more, we talked with the guy who's now my manager, and his wife came to the call later on, and she said, hey, what do they do? Oh, Jared's an electrician. She goes, Josh has been praying for an electrician for months now. Wow, who prays for an electrician? But apparently they needed one that bad. But it was just very encouraging to know that we weren't seeking this. It came to us, and our thought was, well, now that we know the need, now that we know it's needed, how can we say no? We I'm not going to be preaching and teaching there, thankfully. It's not my forte. But what can I do? I can help them. So we'll go to a video here in a little bit to explain why that's helpful. But one early thing that was helpful for me to see was we started praying, do we go forward? Because here we have 100 plus animals because we were farming a little bit, busy with school, busy with schooling, busy with kids, obviously. And we thought, well, do we go forward? Is this kind of our thought? Do we? I don't know. So God said we should pray. Good idea. So I started praying and I thought, let me pray something specifically. So I said, God, we have this medical bill here. It's like $1,000, not huge, but I thought, I know with what I'm making right now during this month, I can't pay that off in this just a short amount of time. So I said, if you want us to go, help us pay this off in some way this month. I knew it couldn't be me. So prayed about it. A few days into it, I said, hey, Kelly, I'm praying for this. She goes, are you dumb? We're not going to do that. She said, do you want to go? I'm like, well, if he wants us to go, it can't be me. So it's going to be an answered prayer either way. So shortly after I started praying that, I got a call from my job that said, hey, go to this job now. You're going to be working 2 straight months of shutdowns. So if you guys don't know what shutdowns are, they do lots of overtime and paid it off in a couple weeks. So answered prayer there. So we thought, okay, we'll keep going forward. That was about 2 years now, and we'll get to more details here pretty soon. But here's some pictures here. It's been neat seeing other places around the world are also poverty stricken. Here's Papua New Guinea now. They have the thatch roofs there. And if you see the burn on the left side there, that's actually not a problem yet because they'll have put a fire in the house to keep themselves warm enough. Now I was asking the missionary, I said, now they do a fire in the house with wood floors. He goes, yep. I said, what happens if the floor catches fire? He goes, they put it out or build a new floor. So, or they build a new house. I mean, it happens. There's some locals there. There's a lot of water in the area. So here's a guy in a canoe there. This is one of the churches they'll build there out in the bush. Nothing fancy there. So to give you guys a kind of better picture, what we're looking at going there, our broader view in the country, here's a video to help show that. If we can get that video possibly.
Have missionaries from all over the world that are sent by our partner organizations. And those include New Tribes Mission UK, Ethnos 360 in the USA, as well as Ethnos Canada, New Zealand, Germany, a sending organization in Mexico. We're part of what's called Global Partners.
Here in Papua New Guinea, we currently have 365 adult members. That sounds like a lot, I realize. but we have over 800 different language groups we're trying to reach.
In obedience to the command of Christ and motivated by his love, we desire to establish New Testament churches in the least reached people groups of Papua New Guinea.
So of those 365, 48% do support ministries and 52% do tribal ministries. One of the reasons that we need that many missionaries, especially the support workers, is because the infrastructure in Papua New Guinea hasn't quite developed. So most everything is only accessible through airplanes or helicopters. The support structure that's here within the country is still developing. So we have to provide that for all those missionaries that are out in the tribes.
In order to function effectively here with a country the size of California, we've got a lot of ground to cover. So in NTM PNG, we divide ourselves up into 3 different areas. The western area covers a lot of the steep swamps and the mountains that surround them. In the eastern area, we're talking about the islands of New Britain and New Ireland, and a lot of smaller islands off the coast of the main island. And then the central area covers the Ramu Valley up into the mountains of the Central Highlands. And so each of those areas has a local team that looks after our missionaries in those places.
For us in the game, with so many different people groups, very remote locations, and a lack of transportation, we really lean on our local support centers to provide logistics for our team, finding supplies and getting them ready for transport, to provide access for national churches and believers to connect with the resources that they may need. Then we also rely on those centers to provide the member care and consultant help for our bush teams.
Our Lapilo Center is our field headquarters. From here, we base our aviation program. We've got the Union Christian Academy, where the children of many of our support workers here, and some boarding students attend from our church plants around the country.
So we have to have our own school here so that missionary kids can fit back into their home countries.
We also have a medical clinic, dental clinic, our finance and business personnel, as well as computer technologies folks. So there's a lot that happens from here that support our mission across this country.
Now, on the church development side, right now, our field has 7 locations that are ready to be moved into. And then we have about 10 other locations that are somewhere on that survey pipeline. So there's a number of areas that we're ready to go into. We just need the people.
We also have a support center in Madang where we do orientation for church planners. It's dedicated to equipping new missionaries that are arriving.
Our vision of what we'd like to do is to continue to equip and train our church planning teams so that they can do the work that we've traditionally done, literacy and developing Bible lessons and teaching and translation and discipleship and turning that work over.
Right now, we have about 40 active missionary teams working with different tribal groups, from teams that are just moving in on their houses, or teams in early and middle stages of learning the language and culture of the people they're working among. And we have 2 teams who are just now presenting the gospel for the very first time. We also have 8 teams that have a young and maturing church, a church that's less than 2 years old, uniting the body of new believers and teaching them through the basics of Christian life. And then we also have another 29 discipling their maturing believers toward eldership and teaching them, taking that scripture and teaching it to others. Our translation teams have actually completed 33 New Testaments and 34 in active development.
Not only do we want to continue to work with our church planning teams, we need to do it in partnership with the national citizens here at Papua New Guinea.
We have another 36 different churches that we would consider mature churches, where the missionary team is itinerant or not actually living full-time on site, but they are working from a distance and supporting that church, and then seeing the leaders become our national partners. To actually put a number on the number of churches that have been established by New Tribes Mission since 1950 in Papua New Guinea is very difficult, because we have 70 plus places where we put missionaries in a language group, but those missionaries often haven't just planted one church, and maybe in partnership with national believers, they have gone on to other villages, and then some of those churches have reached out on their own to plant further churches. As near as I can tell, we have upwards of 200 churches that have been planted here in PNG.
So if you guys heard in that video there, that kind of gives you a little more context there. There are roughly 300 missionaries there in Papua New Guinea, and they're spread throughout multiple centers, lots of bush locations. And the reason why my job is necessary there is because they've seen over time, they've seen the church planners end up spending too much time on an issue that they don't have the training for, and it's stopping them from doing their work, which is more important. I will say that for sure, because they're stopping to work on a solar panel, or they're stopping to fix the flooring in their house because it's kind of want to have a working floor, as you can imagine, and they need power, and all these things come to be a real hindrance to them. So because they are a bigger organization there, now there have been, I've seen circumstances where they're a smaller group in one area. Well, no, there's not going to be an electrician there for sure, but because we have hundreds there, we can have a specialized department that helps with that, and it is more efficient in that way. Okay, so on the map here, give you a little picture there. He mentioned in the video that this is the size of California roughly, which sad to say is where I was born. But when we do go there, I'm telling you guys all these things as if I've been there. We've never been outside the country. Let's tell you that first. But in the bottom there, you see is the tip of Australia there, so right above Australia, and you can see the names there. On the bottom there in the center, it will say Port Moresby in white, kind of hard to see, but that's the capital. We'll fly from Australia into Port Moresby, and Port Moresby, where it says La Pilosa Vega, will be in one of those center. But there's a city called I'm blanking on the name. I'll remember it here in a minute, but right there is where we're going to be staying. So that's the center part of the country. There's mountains, and it's weird if you see in the video they showed kind of coastal there, mountains in the middle. There's some high mountains on a small island, so that's how it works out. And thankfully, that area is less hot than the coastal area. So that's where we're going to be, and we have these centers spread throughout the country here. I'll tell you a side story here. My department, one of the guys recently, he was in Hoskins, and he took a 15-hour boat ride, let's see, northwest. You can see the little dots there, to one of those islands there on a barge to help build a house out there, because they're starting a church out that way, and so the missionary needs a place to stay, as you can imagine. So one of our a guy from our group helped go out there to help start build the house. 15-hour boat ride. Keep that in mind. So these places are remote. If you can see that country there, if there is a highway there, it's a 25-mile-an-hour dirt road full of potholes. So just keep that in mind. It's not like here. So quite different. So to also give some little more context for my department here, here's another video to help explain that as well.
There's different pastors and Bible teachers. There's a whole bunch of different ways that people can serve as missionaries. We're in Papua New Guinea to serve bush missionaries here with technical services. For many, many years, missionaries struggled. They spent so much of their time maintaining and repairing their equipment in their homes, which took them away from the real reason they were here. It became obvious that it was a large need across the entire field.
With all the time that is poured into the church planning aspect, fixing something that gets broken, that doesn't get done because of the pressing needs in discipleship and church planning. A lot of it is communication and helping them solve the problems if we can remotely. The other thing is actually going in and helping missionaries, whether that's with their initial house building. A lot of that they don't have the skills for. So those of us who do, if we're able to go and help them, it helps a lot.
Getting ready to build our houses so that we can be based in the tribe, because we want to learn their language and teach the gospel in their language.
Our goal is to help missionaries do their job better, and it's a lot of times being in really remote places, it's really hard for missionaries. Their skills aren't necessarily the more hands-on side.
Okay, what was my experience in house building? Basically nil. Comes to swinging a hammer, I still can't pound the nail straight. So now we're using chainsaws, which are dangerous things. You know what? I'm just not prepared for that. I've never used a chainsaw before, so this is the first time I'm learning. There are guys out here, and we're able to ask them, as we're preparing for house building, what do we even need to build a house? We have people that can guide us, and we have people that can really tell us what are the safety things we need to look out for, so we don't chop off our limbs trying to build our houses. We're going to have people coming in with us who are skilled builders, back in their home countries, they were builders, and they're going to come with us, and yeah, without them, we don't have a chance. It's such a peace of mind that we can focus on what our job is. We were trained to learn language and to figure out culture and grammar and translate, and we're equipped for that, but I am just not equipped for building a house, and so I'm glad that people that help me with that, and I don't need to worry.
So while our primary focus is to see churches planted here in PNG, we also need to maintain and look after these support centers and keep them up and running so that we can do the job of supporting the tribal church planters and their ministries.
This is the base, the headquarters here at Latino, and we can support more Bush missionaries out there. So I'm very happy to be here in Latino to work with our missionaries. In Papua New Guinea, where our Bush missionaries people go out to the bushes in other centers and work, we need to help them and support them.
So here at Lapilo, we have generators, we have a water system, we have over 100 buildings on center, and then of course the grounds that all need maintaining and constant upkeep.
As I look at the field right now of Papua New Guinea and what needs there are, there's many needs in maintenance and construction, tech services, all of that. We really need people who are very skilled in those areas and able to train the Papua New Guinea citizens here. Another huge need is people who can train management. So training people in management and the ability to lead crews.
The Papua New Guinea people, those who work with us, have a heart to see their people reached with the gospel, and they want to be a part of that. And this is a huge way in which they can be a part of that. So it's crucial that we bring expats over here with the experience and the knowledge so that they can train and mentor and teach them to do those roles alongside of us.
Yeah, I work here almost 9 years, and I worked in a warehouse because some missionaries came here and they learned me how to make different jobs like plumbing and maintenance and building, and learned me how to manage warehouse. We need more missionaries coming here, and we need some more skills from them. But we need them to come and help us, and they can give us more training. When I work here, I was very happy to support this gospel in here and throughout. I'm happy to work here with the mission.
So hopefully that gives you guys a better picture as far as what we're doing. A lot of you guys saw it last summer, but I'm sure you guys have seen a lot of things since then. So some more pictures here. Here we are. They are building a house out in the jungle. Again, it's a lot nicer picture than what I see on my job sites here recently. So what you're seeing there are no Home Depots near these houses they're building. Now, one thing that's interesting there is they're putting solar on the roof. There's no grids in the area as well. So one thing I'll have to learn myself here soon is solar. Now, I've done electrical for 13 years now. I've never once touched solar, but I've talked to the guys who do. They said, you'll figure it out. Don't worry about it. So thankful for that. But I'm really glad looking back on my experiences I have had because I've done commercial work, industrial work, automation. And again, I'll say again, I didn't plan on this process, but I can look back and see, well, my 5 years spent doing machine building, learning automation and PLC programming, I took a class on it. I talked with my manager there. He said, yeah, we have a PLC with our water system. Do you know how those work? Well, yeah, I do. Well, now I know why. Great. And a better thing now than that, if I don't know something, I know someone who does. So that actually happened here this spring. Some of you guys who get our email update, you've already heard this, but I had a team call with our group there in the spring, and they said, Jared, we're having issue at one of our centers, the one on the northwest. They said, we're having this recurring problem. It keeps burning up equipment with the electrical issue. We don't know why. Could you figure it out? Could you help us fix it? I'm like, I'll see what I can do. So they had a printout saying, here are the numbers, here's the charts, and they recorded a lot of stuff to know what was causing us. They couldn't figure it out because they're not electricians. So I read it, I thought, it's not making sense to me. So I said, I got a friend who's a utility guy because it's more of a utility issue than it was anything else. And so I sent to him, sent people as well who I know, and they said, yeah, here's how to fix it. So they originally had asked me to go to help fix it, but I was able to give them information to help fix it without me being there. That one helped there, but things happen constantly, so I'd like to be there to help more than just being a phone call away. So they have this team calls on a while ago, and here's showing people from around the world. I think the guy in the left corner, he's from Germany originally. He might have been around the country sometime, but they're coordinating, talking through what's going on, how can we fix things, let's plan it out. And you guys heard all these church plants around the country, and they're saying, well, so-and-so needs this, so-and-so needs that, how are we gonna plan that, who's going where? And it's a lot going on. There's about a dozen guys roughly in our department to help kind of go around the country, all the centers, all of the plant locations just to keep things operating and running. Oh, story here. So I think some of you guys heard this already, but when I see the pictures of the gorgeous house and the gorgeous sunset, that looks really nice. I asked my manager, "Do you ever bring your wife and kids on these trips?" He goes, "No, because this is where we stay, sticks in a tarp." So it's a little rough sleeping this week here, but be a little worse there. So looking forward to being a part of something bigger. It'll be more than a paycheck, I'll say that. So here happened, I think it was last fall. The guy in one of the pictures earlier, Levi there, he was sent on a trip to help adapt a church planter's house. So what happens is, I think they mentioned in a video earlier, we'll help go build a house originally, and the church planter will live there for 10, 20 years, helping to plant the church, learn the language, translate the Bible into another language. It's a whole long process. But over a time, there will be a time to where they can pull back and stay in a center and work in translating work and help church from a distance. Now, what I think is really cool about that is the process. The idea is let us help you, give you the Bible and help plant your church, but we're going to start pulling back to where this is your church. We will help you, we'll help establish you, but this is your church and we're going to keep pulling back. And this is not us doing it for you. We're going to help you, yes, but we're going to help you and kind of pull back over time. So what happened in this picture here, Levi was sent to this area to help adapt a missionary's house to become used for the church. So it became a less of a house and more of a building for the church there. So that's the kind of broad view. Where we are at now, about 2 months ago, I probably talked with a number of you guys already so far, but we've sold our house. We're homeless, but I'm done with working my job. We are now doing full-time support raising, and we need to finish raising 25% more support. We're at 50% now. We have to at least get to 75% before we can go and buy our plane tickets, which will be in January. We need to get there. So really appreciate you guys' prayers so we can make it in time, because I would hate to do all these things here and to not make it. Not for me, but particularly my mom. She's someone to where she's not a believer and she doesn't see a need to going, but I kind of want her to see we're not giving it all this up here just because we want to go and we want to feel like we're doing something ourselves. No, I want her to see that we're serving a people and there's a God behind it who can do all these things. So we've seen multiple times to where support has increased or people come along who we don't even know. And that's been really encouraging to us. I want people to see, okay, they can raise a family of 7 kids with an electrician and go across the world and something crazy for sure. I want people to see it wasn't him, because he's not a great speaker. No, I'm not, for sure. But I'd like people to see they can work through someone like me and to encourage and to be a part of something bigger. And so on our back table there, you've probably seen that. That's us. And if you have any questions, please reach out to me and we'll be around. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Jared, for the update. Very interesting. So, one, it's really important to hear those stories and understand what it means when we read in the Bible that the body of Christ is made up of many parts and they each have a function. And understanding that there are some that are called to stand up and speak in front of crowds, and there are some that are called to repair PLC controllers. And if we don't all take those responsibilities seriously, the kingdom cannot advance. But God has gifted us in many different ways. And so for all those that are involved in that work, let's just take a few moments and pray. Father, I thank you for those that answer the call. That call sounds so different as your Spirit has equipped us in ways that aren't necessarily written on the page. The Apostle Paul certainly never spoke about those who are gifted in electrical work, but we know that it is in fact a gift, and that your Spirit empowering people to spread the gospel in this new age, in this new time, is something that, while it couldn't have been foreseen, is something for which you deserve praise and honor and glory. So we ask that you continue to bless those that are answering this call, and that your kingdom would be advanced through their ministry. Pray these things in Christ's name. Amen. All right. And now, do we have time for a break? Not really. It is 9:30. So I would like to ask David if he would come forward to talk to us about Ides. If you guys need to stretch your legs or anything, we're just going to stare at you and make it weird. So you would come on up, a man who needs no introduction, and so we'll get none. No, just kidding.
Uh-oh. Is my clicker back there by chance? She's running again. Here she comes. Thank you. Right on. Here we go. All right. Well, I'm glad to be here with you guys today and just share a little bit about Ides. Many of you probably know a decent amount about Ides, so I'm going to share updates. And for those of you who don't, it's a good introduction to Ides. Ides have been around for 53 years. Nancy, am I right on that? Anything I say that's wrong, Nancy will make sure to, if you want to know what's really happening, Nancy's right there. She can correct me on stuff. So 53 years, and we've worked in 137 countries around the world. There's a long history of great work here with the Ides ministry. Going back again 53 years ago to Nancy's dad, who started the ministry because of seeing on the news destruction from war and natural destruction at the same time, and just feeling the calling that somebody should be doing something. And the story of them writing letter after letter, typing in the kitchen, letter after letter, sending it out to people and saying, somebody should start something. Somebody should do something to help these people. Milton said, where's the church? Where's the church? And so as they sent out these letters, they got a lot of responses. This is a great idea, but we're focused over here. This is our calling over here. And then in 1973, a group of men gathered together and said, Milton, if you'll start this, we'll be your first board of directors. And so 53 years ago at the North American Christian Convention, Ides was started, and the growth began from there. My predecessor, Rick Jett, led for many years on the board and then 20 years as executive director, and brought me into the ministry and was an amazing leader, a great person to follow in the ministry, and he set us up for success and for the growth that we get to experience today. So we have a long reach. We work with, internationally, we work with partners, many of whom are in here, folks from Team Expansion, New International, CMF, and a slew of independent missionaries who are out there serving as well. Our mission is to meet the physical and spiritual needs of suffering people all around the world in the name of Jesus Christ. And we're really passionate about both of those things, the physical and the spiritual. They both need to be present for us to work. We are a humanitarian aid organization by classification, but we're much more than just that. We want the humanitarian aid that we use to open the doors to be able to share the gospel, and we see that over and over, right here in the U.S. and around the world. We've had potentially good projects that have come our way to consider that have absolutely zero spiritual component to them, and we've just had to say, hey, there are NGOs out there who would probably jump on this project, but it's not for us. It's not complete enough because you're not even attempting to open the door to be able to share the gospel or build a relationship to do so. So this mission has been our mission for since the beginning, meeting physical and spiritual needs of suffering people around the world in the name of Jesus Christ. We serve in three different ways. We call it the 3 Ds. So disaster response, development work, and disciple making. Those are the components that kind of encapsulate our focus areas. Disaster response is probably what you know us for because it's in our name. So most people know that. I have had people say, I didn't know you worked outside of the country. Well, the first word in our name is international, but that's okay. It's a long name. We go by Ides. It's okay. It's all right. It's all right. So we do. We work here in the U.S. and all over. Disaster response, is kind of the heart of who we are because it's the time when doors are open in big ways. Life happens, and sometimes the walls, spiritual walls, but sometimes the literal walls that prevent conversations are blown away. They're knocked out, and it gives us incredible opportunities to be able to share the gospel and meet people's needs right where they are. I skipped one, didn't I? Development work. Development work is the idea of teach a man to fish instead of give a man to fish, right? So development work, disaster response go hand in hand. Many times we find that we're responding to the same disasters, maybe natural, maybe drought, maybe hunger relief in the same regions on a regular basis. And so if we can come in then with development work, build sustainability into that group, then we can see great success there and allow that to come through. Development work is everything from clean water to farm and livestock training. Medical care falls under development work for us as well as a category. It's anything that's going to be long-term. Disaster response is somewhat short-lived. Short-lived might be a few years, depending on the disaster, but that's still short-lived in the life of the people there. Community development, that's a long-term investment in the work that's going on. And of course, then we have the opportunity for direct disciple-making projects that we get to engage in. That's everything from Rick Jet leadership trainings that we get to provide and be a part of, traveling around the world to train in leadership, Christian pastoral leadership, to be able to have Bibles and resources that we're able to give out as well. We have a partnership with renew.org to establish disciple-making networks around the world, focusing specifically on local national leaders who can be trained in good theology. That's a Renew staple there is good theology training, theological training, and then good disciple-making training, and let that roll out. Our model that we call for our disciple-making is called IDM, Integral Disciple-Making, and it is holistic. So it's not just a DMM, and it's not just a CHE training. It's really kind of a mixture of making sure that our mission lives in our disciple-making movement and methods as well. So it's very physical and very spiritual in the way that we approach disciple-making as an organization. So those are the three. And then at the center of that, we say it's help and hope. That's our mission. That's the physical and the spiritual, the help and hope coming through. In disciple making, we want to transform and we want to teach, and then we want to train so that we are not there. Similar to what you just heard, the idea is not for us to always be the ones there. In fact, internationally, most folks receiving help don't know that we're the ones providing the help through our local partners or our local field workers in the first place, and we kind of like it that way. We don't need that because we leave. We're not there full time. We want the credit to go to, same here in the U.S., the local church, the local people. When a well is put in a village internationally, we don't want the village leaders to know that IDES had any part in that. We want the local missionary, the local partner who's there to get the credit for that, to be able to have an increased standing in the village and the community that they're working in. So that is kind of our heart, to transform, to teach, and then to train and be able to make sure that we are stepping out of the way with that. Oh, and church planting. I should have said that too. So legacy church planting is definitely maybe a unique facet for us. When we first started talking about church planting as an organization and putting that out there publicly, I had one of our first executive director after Milton, Richard, reach out to me. Richard Sprague was the director before Rick. And every time I got a call from Richard, I knew I had said something that I probably, maybe wasn't accurate. He made sure to correct me. Kindly most of the time too. So he reached out and he just said, "Hey, you guys are talking about church planting. Don't you know we've planted churches since the very beginning?" I said, "Well, tell me about some of those." So he shared some from very early on in the early 70s of churches that were planted. I said, I've known about some of those, but nobody else does. Because we've never really highlighted that as part of our evangelism and part of our disciple making. And so we do now. We have a little bit of parameters around our church planting. Our church planting is tied to projects that we engage in. So we're not just branching out and just planting churches, but what we find more often than not In the last 2.5 years, we've planted 23 churches. They've all come about because of our projects, whether that's disaster response or a well that went into a village that had no clean water and no church. And then a gathering of believers gathered, and we were able to provide a facility. We've been able to provide training for ministers to be able to be trained and be the leaders there, resources for the church to start as well. So we want to see all of our projects result in disciple making. And man, if there can be a church there, why wouldn't we want to step into that too and let there be a long-term, permanent evangelistic and disciple-making opportunity there as well? So church planting is an exciting part of what we get to be a part, what we get to do as well. This is Golden Triangle Leadership leadership workshops, and this is in Thailand. So it's a great gathering of actually primarily Burmese pastors who gather, and they come over into Thailand, and we're able to have a weeks-long training and provide that with them. I know various groups. Fame's been a part of that in the past as well. I think this year Nancy got to go back over. She's been over many times, and we were able to bring her over specifically to work with women and do some training with the women, because one of the things that we heard is, hey, this training is great, but could we do something for the ladies too and get them some training? So Nancy was able to come over and do some training, brought her daughter as well to be able to share in that. So this is an annual event that we do kind of in February or March, and bring some incredible things, incredible people. And then there's about 300 folks that gather for about a week, and then they go back and they have some additional resources to be able to share with their churches spread throughout Myanmar as well. Just another picture of it, big crew. There we go. And then I mentioned our disciple-making networks, developing these networks in strategic locations. We have 5 in progress right now. We have one that's beginning and having exciting multiplication across the Philippines right now, even being able to have overlap with the Non-Instrumental Church of Christ, and being able to create some great work there together. We have some strategic ones getting ready to start in everywhere from China to Brazil right now. So a lot of great, exciting things going on there. And Glenn is actually being trained up. He's ultimately going to take over these disciple-making networks as our disciple-making coordinator right now. He'll travel with me a little bit later in the year, assuming things stay well and safe-ish enough. We'll travel over to Israel to visit there and begin the works on what will eventually become a disciple-making network and a church plant and relief efforts in Gaza, just making preparation for those things as well. So Glenn's an exciting addition to the team to be able to have a special focus on this. His background and his education make him a slam dunk for this type of stuff. So we're pumped to have him. Legacy Church, as I mentioned, this is actually our partners or our field workers in New Zealand as they share there at their church. New Zealand is an interesting place because it's very Western, very developed for the most part, very Western, very developed, very secular. It went from just a couple of generations ago above 80% Christian, and in just probably really less than 2 generations has fallen to 1% Christian, maybe less. Very secular, very science, very atheistic focus there. And so they've had a struggle. There are very few Christian churches on the islands. And this church now runs about 100 people. Last year, they established their first eldership, which was an exciting thing. So that's a big step in a church plant to have an eldership and be able to turn over the leadership of that church to that eldership. So exciting stuff that God is doing there. What do we have? This is a sweet group of people, and I've shared about them because they've been on my heart a lot. Just a neat group that we get to work with in India, and we've done a lot of work over the years providing food, providing care for this group of people. And this actually was our first church plant when we started Legacy Church Planting here just a couple of years ago. Again, a group that needs a church of their own. This is in North India. This is a place that You can't proselytize. You can be a Christian. You're still going to have pressure. You're still going to be persecuted, but you cannot proselytize in these areas. But this is also a group that's completely abandoned. Again, we've worked with many years, but these are lepers, and they live in a leper colony, a leper area. They go to one of the clinics that we've been providing services for many, many years. And they're just an amazing group, amazing, sweet folks that definitely have the debilitating effects that come from leprosy. When they find out that they have leprosy, there's a stigma that goes with that leprosy. And their children are pulled out of school because mom and dad have leprosy, so the kids can't be in school. And don't worry, we'll make sure that you have your education there in your place. And of course, that never happens. So then the children have no education to boot. There are medications that can help with leprosy, but it's not given to them, and it's not provided. In a very karma culture, once in a while stuff is dropped off, but they've never even been shown how to use it. So the facility and the church that is our first church plant with them will also serve as a medical facility. So it will also be able to provide them the care that they need and the training that they need to be able to take care of themselves. So it's an exciting one, because you think about lepers in the Bible times and how they had to stay away and they had a stigma and they were unclean, and nothing has changed in 2,000 years. That same mentality is there with lepers today. So amazing group. One of the things that I love, a lot of the pictures that we've seen over the years is them with smiles on their faces. And our partners say, hey, they don't normally have smiles, but because we're able to provide them food, because they know that they're loved, they have a smile when they get together with these groups and when they're able to be shared with there. So this is our first church plant. It's one I'm excited about and I like. Development, again, we want to support, we want to sustain people, and then we want to see them succeed. These are vital projects. We want to help people create a better future for themselves and for their children, providing a hand up instead of just a hand out. We do that through medical care, and that can be everything from cleft palate surgeries, care for burn victims, providing medications for clinics, and as you saw, occasionally stepping into actual clinics and facilities being built there as well. We don't do that near on the level that Fame does. This is something that a lot of times we will move stuff to Fame because they are geared for this in a bigger way. In fact, we've partnered with Fame many times. There's a lot of ambulances that you might see around the world that have Fame and IDE stickers slapped on them there because we get to go together too. So we love collaboration with other folks as well. And medical, we get to collaborate with Fame a number of times. So it's exciting. This was in Sudan. And so medical clinics take a lot of different forms. Maybe it's in the middle of the desert and it's just a big tree because it provides shade. And so this tree in the desert, again, desert of Sudan, this tree absolutely would not fit in this building. It's bigger than any tree on this campus. We had multiple ambulances under it and probably 100 people under this giant tree that is like, how is this even possible to have there? We had a man who had passed out during a service. I wasn't preaching, so it wasn't because of me. But come to find out, so there he is sitting under a tree with his bag actually just hooked up on a limb of the tree as triage happened. Come to find out, he had low blood sugar. He hadn't eaten in days. He couldn't remember when he ate because he's older and he can't hunt and care for himself. And so he's just left alone. Because he passed out, he received medical care, and then he was introduced to the local pastor there who now takes care of him and makes sure that he has food and he has what he needs and he's taken care of. We had a young child there that was crying because they got the first shot in their life. Now, as that shot was coming to them, they didn't mind it so much. They're like, oh, yeah, this is fine. And they got that shot, and they didn't look at the doctor the same way again. But so doctor explained to us what was happening and said, this kid has malaria, little kid, toddler. This kid has malaria. I said, well, so isn't that normally, a malaria medication, something you take orally? They said, yes, but it's progressed enough that he can no longer keep anything down. He said, if we hadn't have been here today and this child hadn't have been brought here in another week, he would have been passed the point of no return for something as, I'm going to say simple as malaria, but that's a very prevalent thing. So medical clinics like this are great opportunities to even meet such a simple need and save a child's life. And then at the same time, open the door to be able to share about the true healer, who is Jesus Christ. And that always happens at our medical clinics and medical camps as well. Clean water access, man, you want to meet a lot of medical needs, clean up people's water. Because the water that they drink is bad. It's nasty. Their animals are in that same water that they're drinking. It's not clean. So providing clean water access is huge for communities. Not only does it provide them clean water outside of a water source, but it also helps primarily women not have to walk miles and miles to get water for their family. And we think about some of those impacts of walking miles and miles, such as not being able to have education because their life revolves around going to get water and bring it back. But the other things that happen is those are dangerous treks. And there are terrible people guarding water sources, and the payment to get water for your family is a terrible thing for women many, many times. We had a village in Sudan that we were in, and the chief said, "Our women have hair." I was like, okay, yes, they do. No, you don't understand. Our women have never had hair because they carry their water jugs on their heads miles every day and back, and their heads are rubbed bald. But now our women have water right here in our own village, and they have hair. What a simple reminder for them of the beauty of clean water and access to it. We do our water very carefully because back in the 80s and 90s, there was a big push for water all around the world, right? You saw it in big concerts. Everybody was putting water. But what they were doing, especially in places like Africa, was using like German and Swiss and American parts to put in wells and then to leave. And so when those wells broke down, two things happened. One, the local people said, well, those Americans or Germans or whoever, it's their well, they'll come fix it. And then the ones who wanted to fix it, my goodness, they couldn't source Swiss and German and American parts, and they couldn't afford them, even if they could have sourced them. So we're very careful to work with our local village leaders and our local partners, so that this well is the community's well. They have to pay for it. They have to raise money and they have to pay for it. Now, the wells can cost everywhere from $10,000 to $20,000. They may have raised $50. They may have raised $25. But in the village's eyes, that's a lot of money. They've paid for this well. They have a system where they have to put money aside to maintain that well because it's their well. It's also all done with locally sourced parts so that when it breaks down, somebody can fix this and can get the parts, and they have the funding to be able to do that. It's never our well. It's always their well. They have the ownership in it. I think of the Turkana tribe. This is a project that we've worked at for many years in Kenya with CMF. And this started with water wells that turned into farms. Let me check my time here. That turned into farms. And these irrigated farms created incredible opportunities for the gospel to be shared. And in the middle of droughts, we reached out and said, hey, what do your people need? And they said, actually nothing. Our people still have plenty of food because of the farms and irrigated farms that were put in. In fact, they're giving it to their neighbors. Could we do more? And we said, absolutely. So at a cost of about $15,000 to $17,000 a farm, we're able to put in a farm, and they're able to just help more and more people instead of constantly providing food. That's development. Each farm feeds 10 families. That's about 100 people. Do the math. That's 10 people per family. It's large families, family groups. As of the time that we first did this, that was about 4,000 people that had access to irrigated farming. That number's up closer to 7,000 people that have access to irrigated farming in Kenya. As a result of that, they've seen 2,500 discipleship groups with over 9,000 members in these groups. And since 2017, they've had over 100 churches that have been planted, and they have over 17,000 baptisms. Because clean water and development work opened the door to the gospel to be shared. And there's no strings attached. Anybody can come, anybody can work, but they have to work their own plot and raise their own, and they're going to hear the gospel. And the farming method, it happens to be called farming God's way. So even as that's trained in them, they're hearing the gospel even there as well. So clean water provides incredible opportunities. And then, of course, disaster response. We want to respond. We want to rebuild. We want to restore not just the facility, the building, but we want to restore the hope that comes along with that. And so that could be hunger relief is a disaster all around the world. And so we have a large hunger relief response. GAP that you guys packed down here, this food stands for God Always Provides. It's food sustenance designed to shorten the gap between meals. It's also an incredible, I'm going to say, stopgap between meeting development needs. We have partners in Haiti, and a lady was tired in Port-au-Prince. Her babies had bullets flying over their head at night, and she had heard about this place in Jeremy, Haiti, and so she did the dangerous journey with her two babies out of Port-au-Prince with all the gangs up into Jeremy, and met our partners there. And the very first thing they gave her was GAP meals. GAP meals packed by people here in the U.S. Out of love, and then shipped over to Haiti, and they had something right away to be able to give her. Now she has a home. Now she's part of the church, and she's part of the community over there. So GAP, what you guys did is incredible. It gets shipped all over the world. We ship to 17, 18 countries right now. Our new facility allows us a lot more packing and a lot more ability to ship those meals out and do incredible good work with them. And then we have the disasters that we hear about here in the U.S., disasters like Helene and Milton, where things are just wiped away and lives need to be completely rebuilt. Homes need to be rebuilt. For a lot of these folks, especially in Hurricane Helene, their actual property disappeared because it changed the course of the rivers. And so we've had to help them secure new property and then work on rebuilding homes in those communities. And we continue to work in Tennessee and North Carolina, helping a lot of people. We've had just some incredible conversations that we've been able to have with folks through this area. We've seen multiple baptisms. We've seen families reunited as a result of these hurricanes that have gone through. And then when people are hopeless and volunteers show up to provide a little bit of hope, it does incredible things. It opens doors. We've had numerous times, I shared this with the youth the other day, in Hurricane Ian in Florida, we had volunteers working on a home, and the homeowner said, "Why are you here?" By the way, that's a great question. We're always looking for the why. That question happens internationally too. That opens the door to the right answer about why. But our volunteers were like, "Well, because of the hurricane and your home is damaged." "Yeah, but why are you here?" "Well, we're with New Day Christian Church." By the way, we train our volunteers to say we're with the local church, not my church from Ohio or Colorado or whatever. And we do that because that bright blue shirt that Nancy wears that you can probably see from space, that's what they all wear. And we always say our blue shirts leave someday, but the local church doesn't leave. So we want the credit to go there. And he said, "But why me?" And our disaster coordinator, Rich, stepped in and he said, "Because we're Christians, that's what we do." I thought, man, that's a great answer. I don't know that I liked your tone on it. He's kind of gruff, but that's a great answer, and that's the right answer. Because we're Christians, that's what we do. And this man said, I've been an atheist my whole life. But if this is what the church does, I might have to give the church a second chance. And Rich said, "Hey, David, that guy for the rest of my time there was in church every single Sunday because volunteers came from all over the country, because a hurricane wiped out his house, and they just showed love." The week before the hurricane, if somebody from the church had gone and knocked on the door and tried to share the gospel, there might have been an argument. There might have been the opportunity. There might have been a lot of reasons why he may not have listened. And yet the storm wiped away a lot of those reasons, and the gospel was shared. And he attends church now. So these disasters are opportunities that should not be wasted. One of our former disaster guys said, "God never wastes a good disaster. He never wastes a good disaster." These are homes that we rebuilt. My son, Luke, was up on the roof of that home doing roofing, which I don't know how I felt about. I know how I felt about that. It was a little scary. It's a little scary. Internationally, Typhoon Rai went through the Philippines, and we were able to provide help through some incredible partners that we have there. They helped over 750 families rebuild their homes, and literal tons of food that were given out and literal tons of debris cleaned up as well. As a result of that, medical bills were covered. A medical clinic was rebuilt. But also, almost 6,000 new people joined their weekly Bible studies across the islands because help was provided to them since the typhoon. They've had over 100 baptisms since that time as well. Disaster response is incredible opportunities that should not be missed for sharing the gospel. We engage in everything from helping eliminate, not helping with, that almost came out really wrong. Helping eliminate and pull people out of human trafficking. Human trafficking is a broad term, and it's everything from sex slave to work slaves. And in a lot of places, many people, especially Christians in places like Pakistan, are trafficked as workers, and they work in places like brick kilns, and they are stuck there, and there is no way for them to get out. And so we have some incredible partners who pour into folks like that, and we're able to work with them and pull these people out of these slave systems that they're in. Right now we work in Venezuela. We work with one partner from Team Expansion, and we have 4 other partners, local church and 3 other missionaries who are independent missionaries that we're working with in Venezuela. Another place where what we're going to see is incredible things that come over the years because of open doors, because of a lot of changes, but especially because of the disaster and people, Christian groups like IDES that are being able to pour into the needs that are there. See what my picture is. These are just more images from Venezuela and teams and work that's going on down there. I'm going to wrap up here. We have field workers and we have field worker recruits. These are folks who do long-term disciple making, long-term development work for us. They also serve as our primary disaster response coordinators in the regions around the world. They're missionaries. And if you or folks you know are interested in joining a group like IDES to do something like this, we'd love to have a conversation about what that would look like. We also have local internships. We have interns right now serving in camps. We have international internships and residencies programs, both local and internationally. And then we also have mission trips for your church that we can coordinate, and they're tied to projects that IDES has been a part of. So it may be that you packed food here and then you get to see the other side of that when that food is handed out elsewhere. So just things that you could be a part of. We want to help the church get involved in missions. And then we have a capital campaign, Expanding Help and Hope, and God has blessed us. That big, long building you see on the right is new. Our GAP and our U.S. Disaster shared about 18,000 square foot warehouse, and they just both grew to where they couldn't handle that anymore. So we built a brand new warehouse, all for GAP, which is incredible. It's provided for, we can have close to 500 volunteers in there packing at a time. He has room for hundreds of thousands, actually a few million meals that can be stored there, the raw goods, and then shipped out, which also allowed our U.S. disaster response team to double their warehouse size and be able to expand and do some of the things that they needed to do to grow in our response as well. That was phase 1. We still need phase 2. Phase 2 is some additional workspaces, a studio to be able to share what God's doing, and a great training room that we can provide some training and some interaction with folks around the world as well. So we're still raising funds for that. So I think Mark said earlier about the shirts, if you got a nickel or $1 million. So if you got a nickel or a spare $5 million, we need to raise $5 million over the next couple of years to be able to add on to the facilities with what we need. What's fun is when we moved into this place, and I wasn't there, but I've heard all the stories, the comments were, gosh, we'll never fill this place. This place is huge compared to what we had in Kempton, Indiana. And I think God chuckled a little bit when people said that because God knew. And here we are using every vertical space possible. We've cut offices in half, and then we've cut them in half again. So people are in glorified broom closets, calling them offices just to make them feel good, but that's all right. And so we've expanded. God has expanded this ministry in incredible ways, and we're excited for the growth that we get to be a part of. So excited for all of that. We would love to visit with you guys and share more. Love to talk about how y'all can get involved in various ways and how we can just help your church in times of disaster as well. Love to do that. So, any questions? Oh, I do have some prayer points. I'm going to leave those up there. And JD, you can lead prayer. All right. If you do have questions, want to know more, I'm happy to share.
Yeah, that's what IDES is doing is a tremendous blessing for the kingdom, not only for the people that are being served, but for the people who are becoming servants through the opportunities that are provided. And it might start with a meal pack, and it might end up in who knows where way in order for people to share. So let's just take a moment, pray that God would bless that work, and then we'll get to our break. Father, we are again amazed at the way that you are working here in the state of Indiana in order to spread your message throughout the world, to empower people with so many particular and sometimes not even yet identified gifts and talents, who through their desire to find a way to serve you, do just that into the expansion of your kingdom in ways that temporary disasters lead to positive, eternal outcomes. It is amazing to watch you work that way, and we pray that you would continue to move on the hearts of your people to empower and support the ministry of IDES now and for many, many years to come. We pray these things in Christ's name. Amen. You guys have a break. Go stretch your legs, and I will see you back here shortly.